top of world headquarters of Southeastern Fly. This is the Southeastern Fly podcast. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Hit the like, click the follow, sign up for the Southeastern Fly newsletter and get a jump on upcoming events and episodes. It's available in the show notes wherever you are listening right now. So last time we talked, I was on the way to the Borough Fly Fishing Meetup, and I thought it turned out pretty well, actually. We had a good number of folks, had a good turnout. The food was great. The drinks were cold. The conversation was awesome. Saw some old friends, made some new friends. So just want to take this time to say thank you for everybody who turned out. And maybe we'll get to do it again. I don't know. Still, jury's still out on whether we'll do another one. If we do, how often it'll be. So anyway, all right. After that, we had some more guide trips going on. So I did those, and then been on the road fishing some. So let's talk about that. We made a trip to Upper East Tennessee. Hadn't been there in a while. And by the time this is released, I should also be back from the Alabama Gulf Coast, or getting close to going. I can't remember when this one releases and when I'm leaving, but they're real close to each other. But this trip to Upper East Tennessee was a good trip. Most of the Liars and Tyers made it out, and if you haven't listened to them, you can go back and find the 100th episode. That'll kind of give you an idea of the group of folks that I've been hanging out with for about 20 some odd years. So we met all together and took off toward East Tennessee. And as we took off, we headed east on 40, and there's a Buc-ee's there. So you got to stop at Buc-ee's on a fishing trip for gas and snacks. I just had to say all bathrooms should be as clean as Buc-ee's bathrooms. And if you're looking for healthy food, I'm sure they don't have any. They have what's called traveling food. Some call it comfort food. I call it traveling food because when I travel is about the only time I get it. Some really good traveling food or comfort food there. Also, man, if you forget your polarized glasses, Buc-ee has them. They got Buc-ee nuggets. Yep, they got those in several flavors. Forgot your favorite fishing shirt at the house. They got them in several colors. So need a Buc-ee's t-shirt. They have them right there on the midway. It's an interesting place with a lot of stuff and a lot of people and a lot of action. It's very clean, very well taken care of, and I enjoy my Buc-ee stops, as you could tell. You want to fuel up your rig? Yep, you can do that too. So that's what we did. We filled up the rigs, the trucks, grabbed some drinks, and continued east, which took us through Knoxville, which is a mad scramble as usual. Finally, we hit I-81 where we could take a breath from the traffic. So we decided we needed to eat, and ate at Wendy's because we were coming off that sugar high from Buc-ee's, the stop earlier. First time I ate at Wendy's was with my grandmother and my grandfather. They took me to Wendy's when I was a kid. It was my first time there. For those of you who have been to Memphis or lived in Memphis for a while back, you might remember Liberty Land in Memphis. We had just left there, and they asked me, "Do you want a Wendy burger?" And Wendy burger is just one word, according to them. I was probably not quite a teenager yet, and naturally I was hungry and said yes. And I have loved Wendy's ever since. Man, it's just, for me, the food's great, good, not great, good. And they also have those Frosties. Man, they're so good. The ice cream has this little crunch in it. Anyway, so we stopped at Wendy's on I-81. That Wendy's was absolutely terrible. The Wendy burger was just unlike anything I had ever experienced. From meat to bun, it was bad. It was just bad. But we endeavored to preserve our pilgrimage, and we continued northward. Checked in at Bee Cliff, saw Noreen. And she's got an old dog there. We messed with it. All of us messed with the dog for a while. And we've been there enough, I think, to officially say, I remember when there was a barn there, or I remember when that was just a field. What can I say? We're getting older now. Anyway, immediately we dumped out our stuff, rigged rods, launched boats, and fished. We ain't that old where we got to take a nap or anything after traveling. I ended up on fishing. I ended up fishing dry droppers. So I had some dry sulfurs that I tied up before I left, because you got to tie some flies or buy some flies before you leave. Threw a midge dropper on there, and that midge won the day. Also, that midge, that setup, that entire setup, set the tone for the rest of our time up there. That's a long way around the barn to say I'm going somewhere with this, but so the water was super clear, which most of the water in Tennessee right now is super clear because of the real, well, maybe it was a drought in the spring, and now it's raining about every 2 or 3 or 4 days, and they're flushing some of the rivers they don't normally flush a lot. And but anyway, we got on some real clear water the whole time we were there. So I set up this 6 weight with about 15-ish feet of mono butt section to start my leader, then another 10 or so feet for the mono mid section, and then about 5 foot of mono tippet to the dry, and then about anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of fluoro tippet to the midge, depending on what we were doing. So I'll call it three. We'll call it 3 feet of fluoro tippet. This is with this setup, you're really only casting leader, tippet, and flies. You don't really get into the backing or into the fly line until, I don't know, until you get into a wide spot in the river or you want to hit something a long way away, maybe across the river. Needless to say, well, I picked this style up of leader up from a friend of mine that I saw at the Murfreesboro fly fishing meetup. So, and I decided I was going to try it up there. So I got all the stuff to do it. Needless to say, it's not easy to cast, but I like it. At first, it's not accurate either, but it doesn't spook fish at all. Your rod tip going through the air is going to spook the fish a whole lot more than the leader ever will. You ought to try it sometime. Just take a lot of mono butt section. I think I just used 20 pound butt, 12 pound mid, and 4 pound tippet, and then of course 4 pound down to of fluoro down to the midge. But you really ought to try it sometime. It's an interesting way to fish, but it's not easy. It's difficult. It's just difficult to cast until you figure out that you're not casting fly line. There's a long wait time. There's not a lot of push. It's just you just got to get out there and try it. Anyway, so that's what I used, and that really set the tone, like I said, for the rest of the time we were out there. That evening, we went back after fishing. We went back, discussed our plans for the next few days. We ate a lot of desserts that night because we all like dessert apparently. And I got into bed real late that night, but the next day got up early so we could get back out to fish. We made our way to the ramp and we dumped the boats. And while I was sitting, this is so crazy. Some of the things that you see people do. I watched a fly angler step into the water there at the launch, and we'll call him Donkey, and you'll figure out why pretty quick. This donkey stepped right in front of a guy who was fishing off the bank. Basically, he walked right in front of the bank angler and walked right through the bank angler's fishing hole. Then Donkey, the guy that's fly fishing, started fishing. Rude is the word you're probably looking for, and you can see why I named him Donkey. But anyway, Donkey got right into a pile of stockers and wailed on them for an hour or two. The bank angler, he left when his hole was blown up, and we had to run the shuttle, so I left. When I came back, Donkey was hooked into a couple of more fish, and so he was dialed in, knew where he wanted to be. He wasn't going to let anybody stop him. The heck with everybody else's day. He was on a mission, so don't do that. Don't be that guy. Anyway, we launched. I started with my setup from the day before: long buck section, long mid section, long tippet. Matter of fact, from that point on, that was my go-to system for the rest of the time. And we only fished dry droppers. I did change dry flies for a little bit, and there were some great runs there, perfect for nymphing, but we didn't nymph. We just fished dry droppers. They won the day. We could have caught some fish on nymphs, but didn't even try. Why would you try if you've got good water like that? But the fish mostly came on midge patterns. Red midges really seemed to work up there. Almost worm types, but shorter, more like just a simple red midge. It didn't seem to really matter what the color of the bead was or anything like that. It just was a nice, simple tie, is all it was. But the only way that we could get it was good drifts and clean presentations. Those worked, no drag. We didn't have anything special about the patterns. Just focus on your presentation, paying attention to the various currents that were coming into certain places where you were wanting fish, getting the flies on exactly the right seam really seemed to if you missed it by a foot or two, you would want to let that presentation go until you're out of that particular spot and then come back up and hit it exactly where you thought the fish would be. And they would be there and they wouldn't come far. But yeah, you just want to keep the leaders and the tippet floating and the on high on the water, and the fly needed to be in the right seam. And I mean, it needed to really be in the seam. It didn't need to be a foot or two off. We did start focusing on one type of water more than others, which was interesting. We sort of cracked the code early, and we didn't skip water, but you could tell that we were more focused when we got to that type of water. We caught fish in most of the water types, but riffles off of color changes, grass, rocks, banks, anywhere where there's a color change with a riffle, we fished it and it produced for us. The sight fishing was good too, I thought. And we caught some on dries, mostly, like I said, the midge won the day. But I mean, you could sight fish and get the midge hits and still see them and all that. It was really, either way you got a hit, or a bite. It was really good, really fun. We took a whole bunch of trips down memory lane, including Holy Water. Um, and we gave this little spot the name about 20 some odd years ago, I guess, something like that. Because, okay, so we were in the campground, and this guy comes up and he was just talking to us, and he said, "Oh, you need to fish the church." And so we said, "Oh, okay. We can do that if we knew where it was." And he told us where it was. Super nice guy. And he said, "You just park at the church, walk down to the river there, and you can catch a brooker brown." And he was serious. He did say brooker brown. Yes, he was serious. No, he didn't know his species. What he was catching were some browns that maybe just looked a little different. There were no brooks in there at the time, but man, his tip on where to fish was fantastic. That was the most productive water that we found the whole time we were up there. So likely it's because nobody else was there. And this is about 2003 or four, maybe something like that. So anyway, since it was at the church, we called it Holy Water, and there was a big round, not a hole necessarily. It was just a big round spot where the bottom was about maybe a foot deeper than anywhere else, and you could throw your fly and let it float across the top edge of that drop off. And before it got halfway across, you'd end up with a fish. And we started calling it the offering plate, which we thought was pretty cool. I mean, it's probably dumb now, but we thought it was pretty cool. So anyway, we ended up our day, had some fun boating. The drift boat took a little bit of a beating of not knowing exactly where the lines were, but as time went on, we got better and better at that. And I'd say the first hour or two, it took me that long to really start reading the water the way that I needed to. The water was super low. So you're going to scrape some, you're going to hit some things, but we got into a couple places we probably shouldn't have and had to back out, which was, it's all part of learning a new river. Some of the guides up there probably are laughing right now, but I think if they were honest, they would understand that first time back up there in a long time, very much like learning it all over again, because some things have moved and that sort of thing. I think that they would say the same, that yeah, once you getting on that type of water, of coming from flat water like we have here in Middle Tennessee, it's just a little different. That's all. So anyway, about an hour and a half, 2 hours in, all was good. Um, Man, it was just a fun time up there. Ready to go back. May do that trip again next year, hopefully, if we don't go west this time. So we've got a trip to Alabama coming up. Like I said, to the Salt. Going to go down there and see what kind of damage we can do down there, and maybe click a couple of species off the bucket list. Lord, I hope I get at least one of my bucket list species down there. It's not too hard to do once you find them, but sometimes finding them is kind of a pain. But anyway, I want to thank the guys for cooking for me up there, and thanks for rowing me some too. And all in all, just another great trip to Upper East Tennessee. We all came back relaxed, except for driving through Knoxville, which, like I said, is kind of a pain. And with that, remember, hit the like, click the follow, give us a positive review wherever you listen to podcasts. You just listened to Fly Fishing Travels in Upper East Tennessee and Leaders on Southeastern Fly. See you next time.